All right, thank you for joining us today. We have a nice lineup for you. Today's theme is cracking the case, where our sales managers and the rest of our team delve into some challenging cases, and they're going to let you know how we solve those. So thank you again for joining us today. We're going to begin in just a moment once everyone gets logged in and gets settled. If you have any questions for our star panel, please enter them into the chat or Q&A panels, and we will get to those. Again, thanks for joining us. We will begin in just a moment.
Seth, welcome aboard. We knew you were tied up on a call there, so we're glad you got on. I always like the dream-like sequence you've got behind you there. It's seeing as some of the cases you and I deal with seem to be a dream the way they go sometimes. So man, you ready to go?
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
Folks, welcome to CPS Live. My name's Tom Verkler. I'll be running the show today, and I don't want any of my panelists to forget that. It is February the 8th, 2023, and you can write that down because studies show that CPS gives you the correct date no less than 94% of the time. What you're seeing here today on screen is what we're seeing here because this is a live show. It's not only unscripted, it's unrehearsed. The men today are walking the tightrope without a net. And we tell you that with the hope that it doesn't create so much apprehension that it just distracts you from the good information they're going to put in front of you here today. Those of you looking over that, one of the things Lisa and I don't make much fuss over is the amount of fan mail that we get after every episode. It's just a tremendous amount of communication. And I know some of you have looked and seen that one of our most consistent and informative panelists is not with us today, Tom Nichols. Tom is tied up on other issues, and that's unfortunate because much of the fan mail we get is about Tom. And I have one here today. I was going to run by him, but he isn't here. I won't read the whole thing. There's several complimentary remarks here, but it gets to the bottom line. It says, is Tom really as young as he looks online? I'll take the liberty answering that. No, he's not as young as he looks online. Having said all that, Matt Anderson, you got big shoes to fill. Tom is usually our leadoff hitter, but you're also one of our most consistent and most informative panelists. And you and I have kicked around the last couple of weeks. I think my picture kind of went dark there. That's my high school yearbook that pops up there. You and I have talked about the fact that the inflation of the last year or so, we talk with Seth a lot about how it's affected annuities, but it's also affected rates as well for long-term care. But the fact that we might be able to offer the products more cheaply doesn't mean we don't run into problems that you can address because CPS addresses the needs of the client beyond simply giving product. What are you going to talk to us today about, Matt?
Yeah, so today I thought I'd talk about a case that I was working on with an advisor. This advisor knows the LTC space very, very well. And he was actually looking for a policy for himself. So he was interested in a particular hybrid LTC policy and had made the decision that he was going to be paying $47,000 a year for 10 years into this policy. That's a pretty big premium commitment. It was going to be a really nice long-term care policy, but he was going to be putting in about $470,000 into that plan over that 10-year period of time. So while I was talking with the advisor and just fine-tuning his thoughts, I was thinking outside the box of how can we potentially save some premium dollars for this particular advisor. And one carrier kind of came to mind in particular, which is Securian. And while most LTC carriers care about where you physically live, Securian is the one carrier that we work with that they don't care where you live. You could live in California, but if you sign in a different state, Nevada, Arizona, then they give you better rates in those states. So in this case, the advisor, if he was motivated enough to take a car trip to a surrounding state, his premium for the same benefits would go from $47,000 a year down to $29,000 a year. So we were able to match the exact same benefits, 100% guaranteed, a cash plan, very sizable benefits over his lifetime, but save him $18,000 a year. And over a 10-year period of time, it was a total premium savings of $180,000. So kind of outside the box thinking is one of the things that we try to pride ourselves on at CPS. And if it means suggesting maybe he take a road trip to Arizona or Nevada to get $180,000 of savings, I think that this premium savings will pay for the trip. So in that case, it worked out well.
Matt, you know, I'm just doing this in my head, but that looks like a reduction in premium of over 33%. Now, in this case, you were able to help because of a carrier that wasn't so concerned about place of residence. How often are you able to find? You and I have talked before about how when cases come to you, it's amazing sometimes the lack of attention that has been given to what the best product and the best situation is, often because the agent just isn't aware of the ins and outs of LTC. How common is it for you to get a case in hand and find that you can do a better job money-wise for the same benefit?
Probably, maybe because I'm competitive, but my favorite thing to do is to work on a case that another advisor has already started and has already shown some benefits. So I love trying to think outside the box and figure out ways in which we can improve the coverage and show a stronger plan. So it's quite frequently we're working on case design or trying to change slight things that'll have a big improvement on savings or improved benefits over the long run. So 90% of the cases, I'd say.
We've talked about the lowering of rates because of the inflation effect. This is a very general question, but just across the board, what would you say has been the reduction over the past 18 months in rates that are available? Just an off the wall number.
Yeah, anywhere from 20 to 25%.
Wow.
So what we're doing a lot of is going back to cases that maybe we didn't land a year ago.
Yeah.
But with that rate reduction, with that improved pricing that we're seeing because of higher interest rate environment, we're able to revisit and actually win the case now. So a lot of that is going on right now.
If you call in and can't get a hold of Matt, feel free to call his very capable associate, Amanda Wetherington. Lisa, you'll put the contact info up. And if you would, even though Tom couldn't get on today, put Tom and Steve's information up for disability as well. Matt, thanks for being on board today.
Absolutely.
Little discussion there, Seth, about the effect of inflation on rates. No marketing arm is affected more than annuities on that. And you and I've talked about the fact that you're just realizing a bumper year because of the higher rates that can be offered as money is rolled over. And the rollover, of course, brings up what you and I were talking about earlier this morning in Eastern time. And that's the opportunity that arises because of the contacts and the connections we have with so many carriers. Because most companies, or rather annuities, are rolled over on a 1035 basis. Explain, you were telling me about how we were able to handle this more effectively because of CPS's position in the marketplace.
Absolutely, Tom. Yeah, thank you. We'll walk through some of that. So it is a great time to be in annuities. And if you look at the month of January, so for a calendar month, CPS, we had a record month for the number of applications that we received. And so far to kick it off here in February, we're seeing our average premium go up as well. So we're seeing several large tickets come across the finish line, which is super exciting. And the interest rate environment is driving some of that. But the other point of it is the work that we do here on the annuity sales team at CPS. And we're able to work with you on a deeper level. And what we're able to help you with is a big part of the process on a lot of these transactions is on a 1035 exchange. There's some moving pieces that we can help you out with in a better fashion. So one thing that has come up a lot recently is multi-year guaranteed fixed annuities. So they have lower interest rates. So ones that were written three or 5 years ago might only had 2% interest rates. And so we're seeing a lot of advisors help their clients now. You can get over 5.5% guaranteed on a 5-year annuity through CPS here. And so they're 1035ing those contracts to a new annuity. Now, as a result of that, a lot of these insurance carriers are actually getting backlogged. And so what we're able to do here at CPS is come up with solutions and strategies to help you with these transactions and help them get across the finish line faster. And one of them is if you have a MIGA that is up against a 30-day exit window and you think there might not be enough time to get that 1035 into the new annuity. So let's say, for example, if you're going from F&G to AIG and it's qualified money, we can have you actually just surrender that contract and utilize the 60-day rollover window and then get the money to the carrier. And that way you don't even have to foul through on the normal transfer process, which is paperwork going from one company to the other, and then a paper check being mailed out in weeks and months can go by. In this case, it would just simply be a client-initiated rollover, and we can help you get that transaction help much faster across the finish line. So that's one thing that we've been working on, and a solution to a big problem that we've seen with the backups, these carriers. To Tom's point about the carrier contacts that we have, though, just the caseload in general. So these carriers are slammed, they're getting a lot of applications, but one of the things that we're able to help you out with here at CPS is go to bat for you on these cases, because we have sales contacts at all of these carriers. And so in the event of a transfer, even if there's an issue with the transfer request on the carrier where the money is coming from, we can still jump in and utilize our sales contacts there, because we're still giving them a ton of business on an annualized basis written through CPS, and they're able to help us on some of your problem cases, and we can get these cases moved across the finish line much faster here on the annuity sales team. And we've seen that. Even if it's something as simple as an RMD request. The other day, I had a client that called in. They were super frustrated that they weren't getting the service from just calling the 1-800 number. And I was able to jump in and utilize my sales contact. In 5 minutes, he got me the forms that were needed and the RMD was processed. So please utilize us here at CPS for your annuity needs, and we'll be happy to help you out.
The one thing you pointed, let me speak first to the 1035 of annuities in general, Seth. 2 points. I'm spoiled and robbed too by life 1035 exchanges, which are pretty cut and dried with regard to what's allowed. But recent rulings, they occurred about 25 years ago. They're all over the lot as far as what we can do. So it's kind of a mystery. I've always been surprised, and Rob has too, how quickly companies on life 1035 exchanges are to give up money on a 1035 exchange. But you indicate in the annuity market, especially as they're all pressed for apps, there's a little more parsimony that takes place as far as shaking the money loose from the old carrier sometimes.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to have a group like CPS here that goes to bat for you on each and every one of your cases, that we help you get across the finish line. So there's some things that the carriers will do. The surrendering company, sometimes they'll say, hey, we didn't receive the letter of acceptance. So they do everything in their power to try to delay the process of transferring that money to the new company. And we're able to step in and resolve some of that. And so what we do is we go to bat for you. We call the carriers. We find out what the issue is truly. And another part of that would be sometimes what does their process look like, right? So a lot of these carriers don't want you to know that they can actually accept a fax transfer request. So what's the sense of putting that in the mail and having that take 2 weeks when you can simply fax the request in? And then I make a phone call to follow up on it and make sure that it's in good order and the thing is processed that same day versus waiting 2 weeks. So these are some of the things that we're able to help you out with here from a CPS point of view to make these cases go a lot faster.
Yeah, thank you. And something you alluded to a little earlier without getting too much into another issue, you mentioned the 30-day look. You talked about putting up an alert, and I was unaware of this, but again, I don't deal with annuities all the time, but sometimes the surrender charge period is longer than the guaranteed interest period. And there's that 30-day look after the guaranteed interest period where you can switch. And if we got an advisor that isn't monitoring the policy, they can lose that opportunity. I just throw that out as a way of helping people keep on top of their current clients. So
for sure, yeah, that's very important that you're on top of those exit windows. And another part of that too is here at CPS, we can evaluate the landscape. So if you do have a 30-day window, we can help you find a carrier that's going faster on processing times. So we even have a newer carrier that we brought on board, Aspida. I've seen applications get processed and submitted in 1 to 2 business days and approved and paid. So there are carriers where they're going super fast. That carrier in particular, they only accept online applications and they're very easy to work with and get appointed. So reach out to us if you have any questions.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Seth. I appreciate it. Good. Congratulations on a banner year you've got going forward there. So
thank you, Tom.
The life. Now we turn to the man who every mother in America wishes their daughter had married, Rob Reedy. Stalwart. Rob, we're going to talk about something today that CPS helps clients with, or advisors, and clients with all the time, that you and I work on a lot together. Kick it off for us, and let's talk about a very valuable but very overlooked service sometime.
Yeah, as you know, Tom, we work on a lot of challenging technical cases in the advanced markets arena, both estate planning and business planning. And one of the questions that I get quite often is related to the fair market value of a policy. And I guess I would like you to set forth, why is it important for an agent and a client to know the fair market value of a life insurance policy?
Rob, you and I, we have a joke that anybody can tell you what the value of a life insurance policy is when the person dies. That's
Yep.
pretty easy, or what it will be at any given day. But what a policy is worth when it's in force is a question that hasn't been helped by the IRS. They've been very foggy about this. And there's been several ways it can be done. But if somebody's going to gift a policy, they need to know what the gift value is. You and I talk all the time about employer-owned policies that are going to be rolled out to the insured employees. That's compensation. They have to know what to report. But I think, Rob, you and I bump into it the most with grantor trusts, where a transfer of the policy is being made to get the death benefit out of the estate. And one of the ways they can get around that 3-year look back rule is to sell the trust to the policy, or excuse me, sell the policy to the trust. And of course, they got to have a realistic sales price. So we help them with the fair market value.
Yeah, excellent. And a lot of the cases that we've worked on involve 1035 exchanges where an agent and a client are considering doing a 1035 exchange and at the same time changing the ownership from the old policy to the new. What would you recommend when it comes to 1035 exchanges and a potential ownership change?
This is where you and I stand for justice, even when it's against our own personal interests. There's nothing but contrary to belief, there's nothing in 1035 law that says the new policy has to have the same owner. But many times the carrier, well, in all cases, the carrier won't let you change the owner because that's a nice way to hide a taxable event. It's a nice way to hide a gift. And what we always advise is, look, that's just going to run into problems. You're either going to have to change the ownership of the policy before the 1035 or afterwards. So that's just something to keep in mind. And we catch that when they try to do it up. We say, look, avoid a world of trouble here. Let's keep the owner consistent. So.
Yeah, and then along those same lines, an agent will ask, how do you value a policy? What are some of the methods used to value a policy, life policy?
Well, here's where we can help keep our advisors out of jail. And I think the record will show, Rob, since you and I have started working for CPS, we haven't had one advisor go to jail. So that's how successful we are. There's a lot of ways it can be valued. The easiest thing is if a contract's in the first year, it's simply premiums paid. And everybody agrees on that. But then it gets down to, well, is it the surrender value of the policy? And most advisors without advice will go ahead and use that. Or it could be the account value. There's other valuations. The good news, Rob, and we admonish agents all the time, it's not your place or your responsibility to tell a client what the fair market value of that policy is. It's up to their tax or their legal advisor. So don't make any suggestions except to say, we'll help get the information to the advisor that's going to ultimately give you what they think is the fair market value. And probably, in the words we use, Rob, what do we usually tell them? In our experience, you're forgetting the magic words, Rob. We think your advisor is going to use the interpolated terminal reserve. Yeah. And I think it's been our experience in probably 80 to 90% of the cases that that's what they use. And the service we provide there is tell us how effectively that's taken care of there.
Yeah, after we get off a call with an advisor, it usually takes about 7 to 10 days to order that interpolated terminal reserve from the carrier. It varies a little bit depending on the carrier, but a lot of our core carriers are quick to get on those and get it back to us quickly so that we can get it back to the advisor and they can share that with the client's tax advisor.
Yeah, and I think it's a rule of thumb. I think it's honest to say, if we like the advisor, we even get it back more quickly. Do we not, Rob?
Exactly.
Just a last thought here before we sign off. Many people come in and they say, I'm not interested in fair market value because it's a term policy. So there's really no value. And in fact, all level premium term products today are built on a UL chassis. And you and I all the time are requesting ITRs for term policies that haven't come to the end of their premium paying period, their level, and we get a number. So
right.
The fact that it's term doesn't protect you. So
yeah, we worked on a large case recently for a key person term policy where we had to go back and get a couple different ITRs because the transfer process took a little bit of time. So absolutely.
Any closing comments on that, Rob? What do we handle? 2 or 3 of those a month, probably, do we
Yeah,
not?
it comes up quite often. And I think that the one takeaway for everyone on this call to remember is that Tom and I will get on the phone with you and your client and their advisors if needed to walk through all of these issues. They're important. Done wrong, there can be some, problems or tax traps. So we want to take it step by step and be there for you, throughout the entire process and answer all the questions.
Yeah, and in fact, we have a very nice 12-page John Hancock piece, more than you'll usually need, that we'd be glad to send you, that talks about this kind of multifaceted question of fair market value. We'd be glad to send you. Lisa, put my contact information up there as well. I probably won't get back as quickly as these gentlemen will, because I'm trying to get more music into my life. And probably indicative of that is you and I intended to have some music today, Lisa, but the bad news is the Irving High School pep band was not able to make it because the band bus broke down after Stephanie had taken the time there at Michelle Drive to get the sound studio all set up. But we're going to have them next week. Gentlemen, any closing thoughts? Folks, thank you for doing business with CPS. Any of us are willing at any time to get on the phone with you and your client and their advisors to help you make the sale. I appreciate it. Don't know about y'all, but I hope I speak for you when I say I'm leaving this call a better person. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.